Hello there. I'm Caleb, and this is my cave. Today, I want to take a few minutes to go over my Captain America deck. This is one of my higher powered decks in terms of the whole gamut of what I have for Commander. It tends to make me the arch enemy at the table just because of, I think, the sheer number of equipments they can be flinging around with Cap. Before I go into the deck, there is a funny story with this. As we all know, the Marvel Secret Layers were pretty tough to get. I got on about 40 minutes after the drop was live. I wanted to get on right as it started, but I wasn't able to that day. And I was in the queue for 5.5 hours, and then Cap, among the rest of the drops, sold out about 20 minutes before I got to checkout. By the time I got to checkout, everything was sold out. About a week later, my local game store gets one copy of each of the Secret Layers in, and it happened to be on a Saturday, and I usually don't go on Saturdays, but my wife told me I should go in just to play for an hour or two, and I went in, happened to be right as they were getting Secret Layers in, and I immediately claimed the Cap one, and they sold it to me for retail, so I thought that was pretty awesome. If that hadn't happened, I would have just proxied it. I am a huge advocate for proxying cards until you can buy the real ones, or until you can find the real ones. But let's go ahead and get started. So Captain America is a Jeskai commander, red, white, and blue. Not the usual order, but Cap had to be changed. He has Throw. For 3, you can unattach an equipment from Cap, and he'll deal damage equal to that equipment's mana value, divided as you choose between 1, 2, or 3 targets. And then Catch at the beginning of combat on your turn. Attach up to 1 target equipment you control to Cap. So the main thing with this deck is we're going to be utilizing both of those abilities. Throwing is huge. That's how you get a lot of wins with this deck. First, I want to go over card advantage because that's a huge piece of this. I wanted to make sure that every time I play this deck that I'm getting my best equipments out, so that it gives me a better chance to win. This deck is one that I play at high power tables, not CEDH. I think I could put even more card advantage in this for it to be CEDH, but that's not really something that I'm interested in. I typically go for high power casual with this deck. So in terms of card advantage, we got Steel Shaper's Gift for 1 mana, search your library for an equipment, put it in your hand. Pure Steel Paladin, whenever an equipment enters, draw a card, and equipment have equip 0, as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. Whirlwind of Thought, whenever you cast a non-creature, draw a card. Stoneforge Mystic is another equipment tutor, but also for 1 and a white and tapper, you can cheat out an equipment onto the battlefield. The One Ring, obviously that's one of the best pieces of card advantage in all of Magic. My real One Ring is in my Sauron deck. Heuristic Study, everybody knows this one. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, do you pay the 1? If they don't, you draw. SRAM Senior Edificer, whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle, draw a card. The new Niv Miz Viz as I call them. Flying, no max hand size, and whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage, draw that many cards. So all of Cap's throwing is going to be non-combat damage, so if Niv is on the board, a lot of card draw. Robe of the Archmagi, whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw that many cards. So at the very least, you have this alone equipped to Cap, you're going to be drawing 4 cards if he hits. Kellen the Fey-Blooded and his adventure side is another aura and equipment tutor. I don't really cast him. I mean, it's a 2/2 double strike, but it's mainly for the tutor side. Esper Sentinel, basically Heuristic Study, but only for the first non-creature spell. Fighter class is a tutor on the first mode, and then you can upgrade it. Level 2 gives you 2 cheaper equip costs, and then level 3 is whenever a creature you control attacks, up to 1 target creature blocks it if they're able. Open the Armory is another tutor, but this one's for aura and equipment. And that is all the card advantage. As for some creature support, Ivor Battle Ready, 5 mana, Vigi, Haste, 5/5. When he attacks, deals damage equal to the number of equipment you control to each opponent. That's huge. Gisela Bladed Gold Knight. She's a damage doubler to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, and then the same goes for if an opponent is trying to deal damage to you, you get that damage halved. Kedis Emberclaw Familiar deals combat. Whenever a commander deals combat damage, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. And that's not going to be classified as commander damage because that other damage isn't combat, but still really huge. Sulfa Mayhem Dominus is another damage doubler, but this is specifically non-combat damage. So that's huge with Cap's throw ability. For other support cards, we got Darksteel Forge. Artifacts you control have indestructible. Simulacrum Synthesizer is a recent add to this deck. I think I put it in there last week, but it's already done major work for me. When it enters, scry 2, but whenever another artifact with mana value 3 or greater enters, you make a construct. And that construct is +1/+1 for each artifact you control. So at the very least, it's going to be a 3/3, because it'll count the synthesizer, it'll count whatever artifact is entering, and it'll count itself. The first game I had this after I put this in the deck, I had 4 10/10s on the board. Still lost, but I got focused down, so that's just how it goes. Zerta the Dawnwaker, she makes your activated abilities 2 less, so Cap's throw ability ends up costing 1, and then she also has kind of a Rogue's Passage effect. Target creature can't block. Training Grounds, that does the same thing that Zerta does, 2 less to activate. Horn of Gondor just makes some tokens equal to the number of humans you control. So at the very least, you're going to have 2. You're going to have Cap, and then the one that enters off of this when you tap it. And then Sigarda's Aid, part of the Cap secret layer, or an equipment spells have flash, and whenever an equipment enters, you can attach it to target creature. As for interaction, my favorite card in all of Magic, Supreme Verdict. Arcane Denial. 1 in the blue, counterspell, and then the controller of that spell can draw 2 and will draw 1. Path to Exile. Fierce Guardianship, gotta love free counterspells. This got me kind of out of a bind in the last game I played Cap. I got to one of my potential win cons, and the second part of it got Force of Negation, and I had Fierce Guardianship, so I played that, and then the other piece got abraded, so it was kind of rough, but it was fun. I was proud of him. Deflecting Palm, I just put this in because 2 games ago I got hit for infinite damage, and I definitely want to have that not happen again, so back at ya. Flawless Maneuver, another free interaction piece if you control your commander, and part of the Cap secret layer. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. The classic Swords to Plowshares. And that is our interaction. Kind of light, but that's not really what we're going for in this deck. Well, now I'll go to the core equipments. So one thing that can be a partial win con, or get you closer at least, is Cauldron Complete. For 7, it has Living Weapons, so when it enters, if it's not going to be attached to Cap right away, like with Sigarda's Aid or Pure Steel Paladin or something like that, it's going to have Living Weapons, so it'll make a Phyrexian Germ 0/0 token and attach itself to that. Cauldron Complete itself is indestructible, and it gives +5/+5, First Strike, Trample, Indestructible, Haste, and Exile Touch. That's what I call that. Sword of Body and Mind, +2/+2, pro blue, pro green. When you deal damage, make a wolf, and that player mills 10 cards. Illusionist Bracers copies activated abilities, so throw happens twice. Ember Cleave, you can flash this in, usually during combat, because it costs 1 less for each attacking creature. +1/+1, double strike and trample. Nazgul Battle Mace, Menace, Death Touch, Annihilator 1, and when that permanent gets sacked, or really whenever an opponent's permanent gets sacked, we get that card, unless they pay 3 life. Reaver Cleaver, +1/+1 trample, and whenever the creature deals combat damage, make treasures. Caduceus Staff of Hermes, this card does major work. At the very least, you get lifelink, and then if you're over 30, you get +5/+5, indestructible, and prevent all damage that would be dealt to the creature. Mold of the Skyclaves attaches as it enters, +2/+2 flying and first strike. Mjolnir Stormhammer attaches as it enters. When the creature attacks, tap target creature defending player controls and put a stun counter on it, and then Mjolnir deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of tapped creatures that opponent controls. Sword of Truth and Justice, pro-white, pro-blue, +1/+1 and proliferate. Colossus Hammer is a big deal if I can get it out on turn 1 or turn 2 before I play Cap, because then whenever Cap comes down, this gets equipped at combat. He's swinging for 14 right away. Swiftfoot Boots is protection, gives him hexproof and haste. Trailblazer Boots, I didn't even know about this equipment until a couple weeks ago, but gives it non-basic landwalk, and you know how everybody plays non-basics in Commander. Excalibur, if this gets thrown several times, it's going to be curtains for the opponents. 12 cost, but it gets reduced down to free typically because of all the historic permanents on the board. For a refresher, historics are artifacts, legendaries, and sagas. +10/+0 and vigilance. Hammer of Nazan, +2/+0 and indestructible. And then when this enters or any other equipment enters, it's a Sigarda's Aid. Attach it to target creature you control. Sword of War and Peace in the form of Shield and War of Peace. +2/+2, pro-red, pro-white. Whenever it deals combat damage, the equipment deals damage to that player equal to the number of cards in their hand, and we gain life for each card in our hand. Mithril Coat, you can flash this in, indestructible, and it gives your creature indestructible. And Cloudsteel Kieran, the artifact creature equipment version of Platinum Angel. Sword of Feast and Famine, +2/+2, pro-black, pro-green. That opposing player pitches a card, and we get to untap all lands. Sword of Cauldra, +5/+5, and Exile Touch. So that's the main equipments that we're trying to go for. As for ramp, Arcane Signet, Decanter of Endless Water, Storm the Vault, which turns into Tolarian Academy if you have 5 or more artifacts, and in this deck that's super easy to have. So Tolarian Academy is a banned card in Commander, but this card kind of gets around that. It's a dual-sided, but what that is it's at a blue mana for each artifact you control. Talisman of Progress, Sword of the Animist. This card might get taken out soon. It doesn't do as much work in this deck because I only have 5 basic lands, but you know, if I'm not drawing into basics, this is a nice ramp piece. Talisman of Conviction, Mox Opal. Pretty much always have Metalcraft in this deck. Jeska's Will, this is ramp and card advantage. Soul Ring is its signet. Talisman of Creativity. Sword of Hearth and Home, pro-green, pro-white. You can blink a creature and grab a basic. And then here's the potential win con, is the Basalt Monolith Power Artifact combo. If this hits the board, and you end up getting infinite mana. The only way your opponents are beating you is if they keep taking out cap. There are plenty of other ways to win just with the throw ability, you know, copying it, reducing its cost, without getting the Basalt Monolith combo, but that's what I've ended up going for recently. As for lands, got Rogran Triome, Inventor's Fair, and Axguard Armory. Those two are tutors. Spectator Seeding, Manamo, School of Water's Edge in the form of Dol Amroth. Untap target legendary permanent for blue and tap this. So you could do that for cap. You could do that for like the One Ring. Any of the other legendaries in here, like Ivor potentially. Misty Rainforest. Steam Vents. Scalding Tarn. Plains. Island. Thundering Falls. Sea of Clouds. Reliquary Tower. Mountain. Plateau. Sacred Foundry. Meticulous Archive. Mountain. Arid Mesa. Plains. Rogue's Passage. Mystic Monastery. Bloodstained Mire. Volcanic Island. Tundra. Command Tower. Wooded Foothills. Polluted Delta. Marsh Flats. Elegant Parlor. Ancient Tomb. Hallowed Fountain. Exotic Orchard. Flooded Strand. Training Center. And we're back. So that's the deck. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, suggestions as to adds or drops that I should potentially do for this, drop that in the comments below. But until next time, have a great day. May the Force ever serve you. Bye-bye.